Breakdown of UPC internal dispute over presidency. Adim Enap's assertion UPC will never be on the presidential ballot. Adim Enap has publicly contended that UPC will never field a presidential candidate because he believes Jim Akena violated the party's constitutional colors, specifically the supposed two-term limit for party leadership. Enap argues that because Akena has already served 2 terms, he is disqualified from continuing as UPC president, thereby undermining UPC's ability to field a valid candidate under legitimate party leadership.
Party president.
Really?
Under People's Congress. Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening. Well, Honorable Dennis, it has been a while that we have not heard from you. Many things have happened and UPC have missed being in the ballot. How do you feel about this?
It is very sad that the UPC is not on the ballot for president, and it is as a result of the internal contradiction within the party. And these contradictions have been caused by Jimmy James Mike Ken. He served his 2 terms as president, as the constitution limits him to, and in an attempt to get a 3rd term, contrary to the party constitution, he led us into this entire scuffle, which resulted the party into not having a candidate for president.
Joseph Ochieno's position is the effective UPC president. When asked how he should be addressed, Joseph Ochieno declared that he is effectively the president of UPC. This statement implies that, in his view, and perhaps in the view of some UPC members, the rightful leadership has shifted away from Akena due to constitutional or procedural violations attributed to Akena
in this matter.
I am effectively, they should be president of Uganda People's Congress. I should be the president of Uganda People's Congress, but I do not refer to myself as president of Uganda People's Congress because I'm a constitutionalist. But I call myself a presidential candidate for Uganda People's Congress because my candidature for UPC is not yet determined. But if you're discussing UPC, many people call me Ochieno of UPC, and to me, that is sufficient enough. But if you want to give a context of my background, I'm delighted that I can tell you very quickly, as part of the introduction, that I've been in this party for long before Museveni came to power. I am one of his longest serving leaders. I was the first secretary of a former office of an external bureau opened in London more than 35 years ago. And I was the first second chairperson of the external bureau based in the UK. I was privileged to be amongst the first members of the Presidential Police Commission, which is the cabinet of the party abroad, one of 7 in year 2002. I was privileged to have been the only member from abroad who was appointed to the Constitutional Steering Commission by late President Milton Obote, and I was lucky enough to also be the first official cabinet spokesperson for Uganda People's Congress, as that's under Mama Mira, but cabinet spokesperson meaning not information officer for the party, but equivalent of a deputy to Mama Mira in cabinet. And I'm saying that because you're asking me what it is, so I speak as authority. But one of the things I also want to say to your program is that in 2015-16, I declared myself Milton Obote's permanent spokesperson.
Allegations of financial support from Museveni to Akena. Adim Enap claims that Jimmy Akena received money from Uganda's incumbent president, Museveni, and furthermore that Akena personally transported part of that money, According to Enap, Akena was given Uganda shilling 14 billion that year. The implication is that Akena's continued hold on power is influenced not by internal party democracy, but by external patronage, thereby undermining the legitimacy of his leadership.
Akena has received money from President Museveni. I've moved part of that money.
So in this case, who has gotten money from Museveni?
It is Akena who is getting money from President Museveni.
He's still getting.
To this day, this year he received an equivalent of 14 billion. For what purpose?
Do you have the proof?
I went to him and asked him, Jimmy, I have information you received 14 billion from President Museveni. In May, he denied, he said, it's not to that magnitude. He didn't deny. He denied the amount.
But accepted.
He didn't accept. He denied the amount. He said not to that magnitude.
That means he received.
That would be any man's reasonable interpretation of the statement. So, between Akena and Enap, who is working for President Museveni in the UPC? Who is receiving money from President Museveni? 3, why do you allow your wife to work for a person you consider your enemy? If you're Christian, would you go to a shrine? My brother, when you're Christian, would you go to a shrine?
No.
And when you go to a shrine, will you again come out and blame and accuse the shrine, the witch doctor, of doing bad things? Yet you consistently go there. Who is fooling who? The shrine goer, or me? I'm simply a Christian standing beside saying he's a shrine goer. The best Akena can do, or he could have done, was to denounce association with President Museveni first, by declaring that Betty Amongi is no longer a member of the UPC if she continues serving in President Museveni's government.
Adim Enap, you say Jimmy Akena received 14 billion from candidate Museveni in May. How did you know that?
We get information. We get information.
Were you looking for your share?
No.
By going to him and asking for that money?
I told him this is causing us trouble in the party.
Where did you meet him?
Uganda House, at the stairs.
Was it a courtesy visit or just?
No, we had gone for, we had been invited to be declared as candidates for president of the UPC at a press conference.
Then you asked him?
Then I asked him, there is this information I'm getting. You received 14 billion from President Museveni. For what?
Ochieno's reaction to the prospect of no UPC candidate in 2026, when asked what message he would carry to the spirit of former party leader Milton Bore should UPC fail to present a candidate for the 2026 presidential race, Ochieno responded that it would be very sad. Implicitly, this reveals that the internal crisis is threatening UPC's presence in national politics, which could be perceived as a betrayal of Obote's legacy.
2026?
Yes.
Very sad. Very sad. I know the president is massively furious in heaven, but for avoidance of doubt, Milton Obote will not be furious for the first time. He was terribly furious in 2021. Why did we not have a presidential candidate? He was furious in 2016. Why did we not have a presidential candidate? So lest you forget, 2026 is going to be the third time. The oldest political party in this country, the political party, the only political party that has governed this country through a democratic mandate twice, the only political party that has never been diselected. We've never lost an election when we're in government. And the only political party that led the campaign for the second liberation, which was the military liberation that saw the collapse of Idi Amin in 1979. And the political party that led the campaigns as way back as 1986, 87, 88, 89, including in court, to seek to get rid of NRA, politically, legal and diplomatically, including challenging its obnoxious provisions of Article 269 that banned political party operation.
Accusation of Akena backing Museveni in 2016. Enap father accused Akena of supporting Museveni in 2016. According to Enap, Akena stood at a rally and urged people to vote the oldest man, an apparent coded reference to Museveni. This, in Enap's view, demonstrates that Akena has long been compromised, collaborating with Museveni rather than promoting UPC's independent legacy.
And in 2016, Akena stood at a rally next to grounds that are next to the main market and said, vote the oldest man, the man with the hat.
From where?
What are those gardens called? The gardens that are next to the market, the main market in Nira.
Coronation Park.
Yes, Coronation. I was recording. I was not told. I was there at the same platform. He said, 2016, vote the oldest man.
Did he mention?
He said it.
Did he mention the oldest man, the name of the oldest man?
He didn't mention the name. He said, vote the oldest man, the man with the hat. In our politics, who is the man with the hat? It is President Museveni. So, after those elections, we see the wife being appointed a minister. Don't you think, and when you connect those two dots, don't you realize this was the ministerial appointment was an appreciation for what he had done?
Enap's claim he is not trying to kill UPC but to save it. When asked whether his actions amount to an attempt to destroy UPC, Enap responded that his intention is not to kill the party, but to rescue it. This framing positions him not as a usurper, but as a reformer, someone committed to restoring constitutional order and reviving UPC's true identity.
I have told you, mine is on a mission of protecting the interests, the views, the dreams of the founding fathers. That's why I even have to go to court against Obote's own son in preservation and protection of the party constitution. The party constitution was promulgated under Miria Obote as president. She was a wife to the former party president. So I imagine her dreams are the aspirations of the founding fathers. Those are the roles, responsibilities we inherited as.
Jimmy has declared no support for candidate Museveni in this 2026 general election. What does that show?
He knows what he's fighting. He's fighting for something. And it all started when he was a chairman of IPOD, when UPC was chairing the IPOD.
On directing the people of Lao, Enap denies Akena's authority. Enap has also asserted that Akena lacks the authority to instruct people from the Lao region not to vote for Museveni. He claims that decisions about voting should await deliberation by legitimate UP structures, reinforcing his stance that Akena's presidency is no longer legitimate.
The people of Lango should wait for the UPC structures to sit down through either the National Council or the Delegates Conference, where we shall make a resolution on which candidate to support for President of Uganda. For now, members are free to go about supporting party candidates at all other levels. Any individual saying vote so and so, the party has not yet made a resolution to that effect. But when we make that resolution as a party, we shall certainly communicate it out to the public.
Ochieno's declaration of loyalty to Milton Obore's legacy. In defending his loyalty to the late Milton Obore, Ochieno insisted he has never annoyed or betrayed him. He reaffirmed his commitment to handing a report to heaven, essentially vowing to honor Obote's memory by preserving UPC's independence and integrity. This intensifies the moral framing. The dispute is not merely political, but about preserving heritage and principle.
I declared myself Milton Obote's permanent spokesperson. So a friend of mine in another media house calls me Milton Obote the idea. So it's a self-appointment and it's deliberate. I did so because I was committing myself to ensuring that when I go to heaven to meet him, I will have to give him a report of what happened between October 2005, my life in this place, and when then I'll go to meet him whenever that happens.
You will take the report to Milton Obote?
I'll take a complete report to Milton Obote.
In heaven? In
heaven. And why that is important to me at the introduction is because up to the time of his passing, I was completely convinced that I hadn't annoyed him and I hadn't betrayed him, and that everything I did, like many of my colleagues, I don't want to claim that for myself, many of my colleagues, it's up to them to do their reportings. Whatever I did was based on my clear understanding that is what he would say, what he would do, and what he would want us to do.
On removal of Chief Whip, that's Santa Loom, and replacement with Jonathan Du, regarding the removal of Santa Loom as Chief Whip and a replacement with Jonathan Du, Enap has argued that Akena had no power to effect such changes. This further undermines Akena's claimed authority and challenges the legitimacy of his executive actions within UPC.
He has no power to do that.
Really?
Even the ruling that he got against the Electoral Commission was for a limited purpose of nominating candidates for parliament. Beyond that, Jimmy is not party president. Remember, his tenure ended on 1st August. This ruling only allowed him to nominate so that we don't affect the party candidates.
So to that effect, what will happen?
It will not be
in this reshufflement.
It won't take effect because we've also communicated to the speaker. We've written to her, telling her that Jimmy has no power to appoint or disappoint in the name of the Uganda People's Congress.
Who has communicated to the speaker?
I did, in my capacity as party president, waiting to be sworn in.
Then how was the reply?
We are still waiting.
On Akena's response concerning the Lira City woman MP seat, before responding to the allegations of receiving money from Museveni, let's see what Akena had to address on a different issue. He told supporters that his wife, Betty Amongi, would run to retain the Lira City woman MP seat, a seat he reportedly held when he was male MP. This could be constructed as Akena trying to consolidate personal or political power within his family, further raising concerns among detractors about his motivations and priorities.
Honorable Jimmy, some people claims you received money from President Museveni, and what all that has happened, it was a plan between you and Museveni. Would it be the case?
No. If my problem was money, I would not be where I was. I would not be where I am. If my problem was position, I will not be where I am. I've been in politics, I've been principled in politics. I have declined offers because I'm looking at a bigger picture. People want to cheapen this whole thing. Money, money, money. Does money solve the problem of Uganda? Can you use money to solve the problem of Uganda? Can Museveni use the money of the people of Uganda to bribe the people of Uganda so that they can give him a time and then he solves the problem? It's not solving the problem.
So you have not received any money?
Money for what? To betray what I stand for? To betray what I believe in? I'm not for sale. I have never been for sale. And the people who have sense, no, I'm not.
Do you go to State House?
When I'm called and when there's something to be done, and I've never hidden it. I've never hidden it. When I go, I go. I don't have a problem. I met Yoweri Museveni. I met Bobby Wine. I met Nandala Mafabi. I met Amuriat. Did I hide it? Did I pretend I didn't meet them? No.
You have been meeting.
When Kiza was in court, I was in court. I was in court. When Kiza was in court. I don't have a problem meeting whoever.
You have been meeting Museveni but not for money?
No. I started meeting Museveni during the peace process. Was that for money? The next time I wrote to Museveni and he called me was when we were dismantling the camps.
Now comes Akena's firm denial of receiving money from Museveni to silence UPC. Jim Akena vehemently denies all allegations that he received money from Museveni in order to silence UPC or influence internal party dynamics. According to him, these are baseless accusations aimed at discrediting him and undermining his leadership.
You have been and you participated in Lira city politics. How do you see a new candidate in the race, Honorable Betty Amongi?
That's one of the seats where I am deliberate, confident. I am taking that one. I am reclaiming it. Because if you go back, that was my seat. And I met Joy, that was a UPC seat. So we've just had this temporary visitor who we are going to deal with.
Who is a visitor in that case?
The visitor in the leadership of leader. That has been a UPC seat.
Okay.
So UPC is reclaiming it.
So in Lira City, we have Minister Dr. Jen and Mayor Lira City NRM. So those are visitors.
Yes. Who was the mayor before?
UPC.
Who was the MP before?
UPC.
So to go back to business as usual, there's no crime there. Definitely, I'm going to support my candidates for mayor. I am going to be supporting my wife, and I'm quite confident we're going to take the Lira City and other constituencies also going for. Lira City East, Lira City West, we want those.
The legal war, analytical legal truth on who is right and who is wrong. The UPC leadership battle has evolved from a rhetorical dispute into a full-scale legal confrontation. The conflict now centers on three pivotal figures: Akena, Ochieno, Joseph, and Adim Enap, each representing a distinct political and ideological faction within the party. Understanding the legal truth requires assessing court orders, constitutional interpretation, and the conduct of each faction in relation to judicial authority. Akena, the embattled incumbent. Akena, current UPC president and son of former Ugandan President Milton Obote, presided over a controversial UPC delegates conference in July 2025. This meeting extended his term by 12 months, a move his faction claimed was necessary to ensure UPC readiness for the 2026 elections. However, this conference proceeded despite an active High Court injunction explicitly halting it. Legally, presiding over party business under a court order of stay constitutes possible prima facie contempt. Akena's team argues that the injunction was either improperly served or irrelevant to the specific nature of the conference. Yet, this interpretation remains contested since court orders take effect upon issuance, not upon a party's acceptance or agreement. Additionally, Akena's faction has previously been accused of suspending UPC's internal rules, allegedly aligning the party constitution with Uganda's national term limit in a manner viewed as self-serving. This action raised questions about the legitimacy of his continued leadership and adherence to the rule of law within party structures. Joseph Ochieno, the legal challenger, veteran party member Joseph Ochieno, positions himself as the custodian of legality within party. He filed a case accusing Akena of defying judicial authority and illegally presiding over the July 2025 delegates conference. Ochieno further petitioned the court to issue an arrest warrant against Akena for contempt, insisting that Akena's presidency was already nullified by earlier court decisions and internal procedural irregularities. From a legal standpoint, Ochieno's argument rests heavily on judicial supremacy, the principle that compliance with a court's directive is non-negotiable. If Akena did indeed continue party process in the face of an active injunction, Ochieno's petition gains substantial weight. However, until a court formally rules on the contempt application, his claims remain legal assertions rather than final determinations. Adim Enap, the reformist contender. Adim Enap, a lawyer, economist, and trained pilot with ties to Lao and Basoga, represents the generational and ideological alternatives within UPC. Officially nominated to contest for UPC presidency in May 2025, Enap positions himself as the youthful modernizer, promising to rebrand, restructure, and re-energize UPC. Enap's legal stance is less about court battles and more about constitutionalism, asserting that Akena overserved his terms and therefore lost moral and constitutional legitimacy. His campaign theme emphasizes the restoration of party order, transparency, and values aligned with younger Ugandans. Let's look at legal issues at the center of the conflict. Number one, court defiance and contempt. The most serious legal matter is Akena's alleged defiance of the High Court injunction under Ugandan law. Violating court orders constitutes contempt, and the judiciary has wide discretion to penalize such actions. If proven, this significantly damages Akena's legal standing. Secondly, legitimacy of constitutional amendments. Akena's faction's decision to suspend certain UPC rules and align the party constitution within national term limit raises issues of intra-party legality. The question is whether such amendments were made with proper quorum in compliance with the UPC constitution and under legitimately convened party organs. If not, they may be null and void. Thirdly, leadership succession and vacancy. If the court rules that Akena's leadership is invalid or expired, then Ochieno or Enap, depending on procedural correctness of their nominations, could argue for interim or substantive leadership. The fourth thing is effective on UPC's participation in the 2026 elections. An unresolved legal crisis may leave UPC without a recognized presidential candidate, exposing the party to further legislation or fracturing. So, who is right legally? Based on the available information, Ochieno is legally stronger regarding the question of contempt. If a court injunction was active and Akena proceeded with the conference, Ochieno's legal argument is grounded in judicial supremacy and is easier to defend in court. Akena is politically authoritative but legally vulnerable. His faction controls much of the party's operational machinery, but his position is weakened. Accusations of court defiance, constitutional irregularities, and contested term extensions. Until a court rules in his favor, his leadership remains legally fragile. Enap is constitutionally clean and legally untainted. While he has not yet won a legal victory, he stands out as the candidate with no contempt allegations, no accusations of constitutional manipulation, formal nomination through established party processes. This positions him as the legally safest and constitutionally most acceptable alternative if the courts invalidate Akena. Now, here is the final legal truth. There is no final legal victor yet, because the courts have not delivered the conclusive ruling on Akena's alleged contempt, the legality of the July 2025 Delegates Conference, the validity of the suspended constitutional rules, and the legitimacy of leadership claims by Ochieno or Enap. However, based on legal principles rather than political power, Akena stands on the weakest legal ground due to unresolved contempt allegations. Ochieno holds the strongest judicial argument grounded in court compliance. Enap is currently the cleanest and most constitutionally compliant contender, giving him potential legal advantage if leadership is vacated. This is an independent analysis based on available public information. I choose no side on this. Thank you.